just does not have a clue on how to run an offense.
Luke Gensky should be fired. He should be fired today.
I'll stand by you. My God. Bro, you got smoked.
Welcome to Phase Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's your boy, Lonnie Z, and this is Phase Fantasy Live. Today, we're going to be talking about top 10 fantasy wide receivers and where we think you should draft them. And we're going to give you about 15 total, but we're going to give you our top 10. Hey, what is going on, Jake? How are you doing today, sir?
Doing good. Let's get through these rankings. Let's get the draft started. That's the thing. I have 3 drafts this week. Let's go.
Yeah, you're a beast, man. I didn't even give you a proper introduction. Along with me today is my partner in crime, Jake Hansen. You guys all know him, but he does deserve a great introduction because he's a great guy.
Thank you, sir.
And we're kind of grinding it out today. We're doing a few casts today. We just got done with our running back show, so make sure you catch that one. And then this is receivers, and we're going to do the tight ends and maybe some draft positioning after that. But we're grinding it out today. All right, so we're doing top 10 wide receivers, and we're going to give about 15 receivers because with receivers, you play in a lot of leagues. You play 3, and you could flex even another one in, so you could actually have 4 receivers playing at once. So we're going to give you our top 10, and then we'll give you some honorable mentions. Who you got at number 10, Jake?
Number 10, I got Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk.
Could have easily been my top 7, but with him, we don't know where he's going to go. I had to drop him to 10. I mean, it was a hard one. I mean, I have a couple of those on this top 10 right now. A couple teeter-totters. So that's why I put him at number 10. Just, it depends what he... Well, one, it depends if he signs with Niners, and it depends where he goes. So he's my number 10.
Gotcha. Now, Brandon Ayuk, he finished with 105 targets and 75 receptions last year. And, 249 fantasy points. And Debo had 243. They really split. They're used so differently, though. Brandon Ayuk is used more like a traditional wide receiver. Yeah, so I like that, Brandon Ayuk dropping into your top 10. Just the uncertainty about everything to me with him. But he, last year he was wide receiver 14, fantasy. So he can easily jump in there. And I would expect no less from you to have a 49er in your top 10 because that's the only way you can get it in there is, he went Ayuk. But anyway, I got Drake London.
I had McCaffrey number 1.
I know.
McCaffrey was number 1. So.
I know he was. I know. So I'm sure that Kittle's going to find his way in the tight end. And if we had a kicker one, you get your kicker in there.
No.
No. Okay. So I got
Ayuk was the top 8 top 8 stats receiver last year. So
yeah, Ayuk's good, man. No argument there as far as talent wise. He definitely could easily be in a top 10. Even a top 7 fantasy, wide receiver this season, depending on that whole contract thing, man, and the trade. It is
sucks.
Yeah,
ruins
the
everything.
business part of football sucks. I got Drake London, and this is kind of crazy. It was hard for me to get him in there, but it's also hard for me to keep him out. I think Drake London is finally due for a breakout year, and if I'm going to pick a breakout wide receiver, it's his 3rd season, and I think he finally has a offensive-minded coach. They said that Arthur Smith was an offensive-minded coach. I just don't know where his mind was on offense. It was the craziest. We watched some crazy stuff last year with Arthur Smith. But anyway, they got a different system in there, bringing Kirk Cousins in. Kirk Cousins is not the greatest quarterback in the world, but one thing he is he's consistent, and he'll give you a consistent play. And that's what these guys need. And he loves to hit his wide receivers. I mean, he just left Justin Jefferson. And so I have I have Drake London in at my top 10. He breaks my, and it was hard to get him in there, but it was hard to keep him out. And it's hard to kick some of the guys out that I kicked out to get him in. It's one of those kind of lists. Drake London. What do you think about Drake?
I like Drake London. We always have liked Drake London, and I think everybody's going to finally show their potential with the Falcons this year, offense wise. That's why I have Bajan at number 3. That's why I have Pitts in our rankings coming up, and Drake didn't make my top 10. I'll say it now. He didn't. But I think that he could easily be top 15. I just think there's some other receivers that have showed more, but it's all about Kirk Cousins, to be honest. I think they have the team to do it. Like last year I think we were just shocked that Arthur Smith could not figure something out with a tight end that could be the top, a receiver that could be a top 10 receiver, and a running back that could be a top 5 running back, and now you have a quarterback that could be a top 15 quarterback. So there's no more excuses. It's a different coach. So let's see what happens.
No, I agree 100% with all that. My number 9 coming in is Devontae. I couldn't leave him out of my top 10 because he's Devontae Adams. And it don't matter who's throwing him the ball. Minshew just won that job. I think that helps Devontae because Minshew's kind of a gunslinger, but this is like his what is his 5th season, maybe Minshew, 4th or 5th season. Yeah. So he's been around a little bit and he knows how to quarterback. So the only thing is it's hard for me to put anyone from Luke Getsky in a top 10, but Devontae is one guy that I got to keep in there. So that's why I got a number 9. Who do you got at number 9?
So my number 9 is Stephon Diggs.
Steph Diggs.
I think it's going to be hard for him not to be a top 10 receiver this year with one of the top 5 quarterbacks for fantasy this year. He had 8 touchdowns with Josh Allen. You seen what Adele and Nico had last year. I just seen Diggs being the man over there. He's going to get his. I mean, he has CJ, and CJ's slinging the ball. So I can't take none away from Diggs. He was a top 10 receiver last year. So, and it's not a better quarterback, but Josh Allen made a lot of mistakes last year, with 15 interceptions, 16 interceptions. So I can still see Diggs as a top 10 fantasy receiver, especially with CJ. And he has 2 good receivers around him, so somebody's going to be open.
Yeah. Are you concerned at all that because he has 2 receivers around him that, because remember last year we were like, all right, who's going to get it this week? Is it going to be Nico? Is it going to be Tank? And now you got Diggs. So you think there's going to be enough love, enough balls going around to get Diggs in that top 10?
So last year, Cooper Kupp and Nakua both had over 1,000 yards, and they were on the same team. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the same team both had over 1,000 yards, and Mike Evans still had 13 touchdowns. So now we're talking about 3. You're right, but Dale was always that slot guy anyway. So we'll have to see. He has a great quarterback, so we'll have to see. I'm not taking nothing away from him. He's going to have a number 1. And last year, Nika was hurt. Dale was hurt a lot, so we'll see. I'm not really worried about it, really. I think Diggs is. They traded for him for a reason. They knew what was coming.
That's true.
Mike Evans. I picked Mike Evans over Devontae Adams. I think it was because I hate to say the quarterback reason because he has Baker, but he had 13 touchdowns, 1,255 receiving yards last year. Would Baker sign a contract last year if Mike Evans would have did that or would not have did that? No. Part of Baker Mayfield's success was Mike Evans.
That's true.
And for scoring 13 touchdowns, I can't take him off my top 10. He was most scoring receivers last year, so I can't take him off top 10 when you scored 13 touchdowns. There's no way. And him and Baker clicked, him and Baker clicked. So hopefully the Minshew and Adams clicked, just like exactly what you were just talking about right now. That could be right there. That could be the Baker to Mike Evans last year, Devontae with Minshew. That could easily be that this year. Easily.
Yeah, Evans' 10th consecutive season, 1,000+ yards. He's never missed 1,000 yard. I don't see it changing this year. He's a dog. He's an alpha. Um, Very justifiable. He's right outside of my top 10, but very justifiable. I mean, this list is a hard list to put together because there's so much talent out there with receivers and quarterbacks. My number 8 is Stephon Diggs. So for all the reasons you say, you just can't keep a talent like that. He can't just go from where he was like coming into last season as a top 5 or whatever, and then you can't just drop him out of your top 10 the next year because he changed teams and got to a better scheme. I think they're in a better scheme. They love to stretch the field, and I just feel like him and the kid are just going to connect, kind of like you. I got that feeling, and yeah, we've seen Tank Dell get hurt. We've seen Nico Collins get hurt. They're back and forth all the time. Diggs stays kind of healthy, and he's probably going to be the guy, and he's coming in with all the accolades, he's the guy that they're going to be learning from. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Nico was hurt past 2 years. Tank
Mhm.
Dell hurt all year.
Yep.
Stefan, his problem hasn't been injuries. It's been his mouth. It hasn't been injuries. It hasn't
Yeah.
been him not being on the field. It's been his mouth. It's been him not agreeing with Josh Allen. It's not agreeing with McDermott for some reason. I mean, the
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills could have been a great team, and they lost 2 good receivers. And I don't even know why I'm going to bring this up, but I can't believe Gabriel Davis left. Why would you leave when you could have been the number? I mean, he's not going to be the number 1, but Stephon leaves and you leave. Why would you leave?
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
crazy to
that
me.
tells you something about the way they treat their receivers over there.
Honest,
Because everything goes through Josh Allen. Everything. He's going to
100%.
run it. He's going to
I
throw.
know.
And we'll
Yep.
see if Kincaid really is going to have a breakout year. When we
True.
talk about tight ends, we're going to discuss this because the way they run that offense, who knows? They don't even run their running backs right. I mean, it's just like we have Josh Allen. That's it. Go ahead, Josh.
Exactly.
And if you throw a touchdown, great. If but they don't have.
If Josh Allen, the Bills are one of those teams. I mean, there's a lot of teams. If a quarterback goes down, it's going to be their season's
Well, for
done.
sure.
If the Niners quarterback gets hurt, season's done.
Yeah, because the best quarterbacks in
The
Minnesota now.
Bills,
Their backup is
well, the Vikings season's
Darnold
with JJ. No, anyways, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
If Josh Allen goes down, it is over.
Oh, over.
It is over.
I mean, they got the other Allen.
over.
They got the other Allen.
Like Mahomes goes down, they always figure it a way. Like Mahomes, they'll figure a way to stay in there. They might not be going Super Bowl, nothing like that, but they're going to figure a way to stay up there. Like look at the Jets. Rodgers went down, over.
They quit.
Done.
It's the moment he
Bills
went
are the
down,
same,
they quit.
Same position.
They are.
Yep. No, like same position.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. I agree with you on all those cylinders.
So what's your
with
number
that.
7?
My number 7 is Garrett Wilson. And I think it's time.
Oh.
I think it's time for Garrett Wilson to finally show what he's able to do. And I'm going to give the old man some credit here. Aaron Rodgers could have just retired last year. End of his career. He could have easily just said, that's it. But he worked his ass off to rehab. He tore his ACL. And just for him to come back is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he wants to see what he can do. And they got Mike Williams too. Now, Mike Williams is never healthy. But if you put him with Garrett Wilson, you're going to have to worry about him, to a certain extent, especially with Rodgers. I just think Garrett Wilson's so talented, man. He really is. He just has not had the opportunity yet. He's never had a quarterback at the NFL level. And we saw what he did with CJ Stroud at Ohio State. So, I just couldn't keep him out of my top 10. And I know there's a lot of hype. About him this year. And I know a lot of people are saying what I'm saying, but I'm saying it because I watched him in college. I kept up on this kid. When he was a rookie, I called him a freak coming into the NFL. And now I think it's finally his time. I think it's Garrett Wilson's time to show us. And he has a Hall of Fame quarterback to sling it around. And I have no doubt Aaron Rodgers will be able to get him the ball. My only concern though, bro, is, Robert Saleh. Is Saleh is he gonna, have the right game plan? Their offensive coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett. Another one of these guys. These retreads, bro. Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, he's a better offensive coordinator than he is a head coach for sure. But so we'll see it. And Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers likes him. He's his guy. So we'll see.
Thing is, I like my top 15. I could have any of those guys in my top 10, other than probably one guy. And I don't have. I took Garrett Wilson out of my top 10. I actually took him out for, I guess you could say, because I guarantee our next set, because we're on 7 right now. So I guarantee our next 6, we have the same players. It might not be. Yeah, we're going to have the same 6. Probably not in the same ranking, but we're going to have the same 6. I actually took him out. I took Garrett Wilson out probably for Ayuk. I think because I got Ayuk, you didn't have Ayuk and Evans. My number 7, I think Puka Nacua. I got Puka Nacua at 7. I think Puka Nacua is going to have a better fantasy season than Garrett Wilson. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. 8 touchdowns or 7 touchdowns or 8, whatever. But Puka showed too much last year, and with Stafford, not to put him on my number 7. I have some other guys that have a lot of promise above him. I could have had a Nacua higher, but hey, it could be a sophomore jinx. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I didn't want to put I didn't want to put Puka too high, so I put him at 7. He's too good. He showed too much last year not to be up top 10.
No, that makes sense, man. Puka, I had him in. I took him out. He was one of the guys I took out, and the reason I really took Puka out, there's a couple of reasons. One, right now he's already kind of banged up a little bit before the season even starts, and 2, all reports coming out of Canvas, Cooper Kupp looks like the old Cooper Kupp. He looks like the old. And I read an article, an interview from Cooper Kupp, and he was saying he wants to be that Triple Crown winner again. He wants to be what he was, and he believes he can. I can't bet against him. So when I hear that, I'm thinking this can't be good for Nacua. But there's enough balls to go around.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Stafford's going to be healthy, and I don't know what that quarterback is. So to me, there were just too many questions, but definitely the talent is there. Definitely could easily be a top 10 fantasy receiver. And, I think so. So, yeah, I have no problem with Puka at your number 7. Who do you got in number 6?
A.J. Brown.
AJ.
1,456 yards, 7 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a little better this year. I think Sirianni, at the end of the year, the Eagles were in shambles. For some reason, just something happened. The last 5, it was just they were in shambles. And we watched the games, like we said, like, why aren't you giving the ball to AJ? Why aren't you giving the ball to AJ? Like, what is going on? And then they did, and then he went off. Then against the Commanders, he went off. And like I think that's what we talked about. Me, you, and Chris, our other partner. We just were like, why is he not giving the ball to AJ Brown? Okay, this could be a big reason that Saquon's on the team now, and it's just there's no reason why AJ Brown doesn't get the ball now. Now that Saquon's on the team, there's no reason. Now you have another guy that can catch out of the backfield, so AJ is going to be open. So AJ Brown was 1,456 yards last year. That's one of the top, 10 receivers. So there's no reason to drop him down. I mean, he's a big fantasy receiver, so he's my number 6.
No, I agree 100% for everything you said. I think bringing Saquon in helps AJ Brown actually. And they don't have a tight end anymore, Goddard. I mean, he's not a real, threat like he used to be. But he's my number 6 also, AJ Brown. I have him at number 6.
I don't.
And for all the reasons you said, AJ Brown. My number 5 is Amon-Ra St. Brown out of Detroit. Every year he gets better, and he easily could have been higher on this list. He could have been 4 or 3, but to get up there, you have to. He's already an elite. I can't say you have to beat some elites because they're all elite at this point. But the dudes ahead of him are like, So, but St. Brown, man, he's just impressed me. He was the number 3 fantasy wide receiver last year. He had 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. 119 receptions, 119 receptions. Tyreek Hill had 119 receptions. They
Mm-hmm.
tied for second in
Mm-hmm.
receptions. He had 330 fantasy points. My only concern with him is his if he stays healthy or not. Him just staying healthy. So if he could stay healthy, and then they're now finally Jameson Williams is their number 2. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, Jameson Williams is their number 2 on their depth chart. So that's why I got him at number
5.
number 5 on my list is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who do you got?
My number 5 is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase. Higgins is still there. We'll see what the real Joe Burrow does this year. There's no talent wasted with Joe and Chase, but Chase hasn't practiced or training camp, right? So he's going to be there. He's been at like every practice. He travels with the team, so he's going to play. But Chase let us down last year a little bit, Lonnie, and you know that he let you down. I know on a couple games, and he let us down on a couple games last year, not doing what he does. But that could be because Burrow was gone. But there were some games that he didn't do too great. But he's still my top 5. He's 5 for me.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, man. He was he got hurt and stuff. He was hurt a little bit last year. They had a quarterback situation. Now this year he's coming in and he's holding out. So, he still had 100 receptions, which is kind of crazy. He played 16 games, so he only missed a game, but it seemed like he missed more, like you're saying. 262 fantasy points. He had 7 touchdowns. I think that's where it was. He only got 7 touchdowns, and that could be because Burrow wasn't there. And so, yeah, Jamar Chase, that 100%. I agree with you on him being your number 5. Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Aaron St. Brown. Pretty much everything you said. I just flip flop. I had him at 4. He's been really consistent the last 2 years, and I think he's just going to get better. There's nothing there to show that he's going to get worse or even drop down. I think he's going to help him with Williams. Going to be number 2. I think he's going to help spread the offense out. It might make Brown open more. If Williams does, even if Williams does look better the first couple of games, it's going to help Brown out, especially with Montgomery and Gibbs back there. So can't take nothing away from Brown. I think he's getting better every year. Instead of last year he was probably 5. This year he's 4 for me. And I could even put him top 3. I could have easily put him top 3 because there's some quarterback situations for the top three right now. But for St. Brown, I got him at 4.
Yeah, he's just a dog, man. He's just a dog. He's just gonna get out there, and that's why I have him in my top 5 too. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a beast. I have Jamar Chase at number 4, so we just flopped those two for all the same reason. And with Chase, the reason I got him past there is because Burrow should be back, and I think his touchdown production should increase this year. I think the stat line will be about the same, but the touchdowns should increase this year. So that's why I have him in my top 4. My number 3 on my list is a lot of people aren't going to like this. A lot of people are not going to like this pick. I know that I know a lot of people in Texas won't like this. I got CeeDee Lamb coming at number 3 for me. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, yes, CeeDee Lamb, he's the greatest. And he had, 403 fantasy points, second, no, that was the most fantasy points of anyone. Yeah, last year. And nothing's changed. They got to run everything through him. But a few things have changed. Their running game, they still haven't figured that out. Under any circumstance, that's still not figured out. Matter of fact, people would scheme up for Pollard thinking he was going to be something last year. And so that gave a little more flexibility and freedom for CD last year. And Pollard never got off. So he's holding out for the contract. Jerry Jones is being stubborn. They're gonna wait right up until opening day. And to me, early in the season might be tough with CD, but he could be. I'm sure he's keeping fit and all that. But definitely a top 3. He could easily be the top 1 again. But I hear all the hype. I'm just not sure. And Dak has already got banged up in the preseason. So I don't know how healthy Dak's going to be, but Dak had a good year last year too. Him and CD really, really connected. But I got CD at my number 3 for all those reasons. Who do you got at number 3? Or what do you think about that? Or, you want to talk about CD later?
I the CD's coming up too with me coming up soon, so it's the same thing. I mean, a CD had over 130 receptions, so I don't think he's going to sign. To be honest, I don't. I think he's going to play, but I don't think they're going to sign him. I don't think they're going to do it. They're not signing. They didn't sign McCarthy. They didn't sign Dak, and I don't think they're going to sign Lamb. I think it all depends on this year. If it goes south this year, I think those guys might be gone, or they got to pick one out of the three. Maybe Jerry's done with spending all the money. I don't know. And they got Micah. They got to spend money on too. So, but I agree with Lamb. The top three. I mean, he's top three on mine too. So, my number 3 is Justin Jefferson. Not because nothing against him or anything like that. It's just a quarterback situation. If Kirk Cousins still there, he would have been my number 2. But just with the situation coming up, JoJo Addison's back. Is it going to take some from him? We don't know. They got Aaron Jones is going to make it better for him, but no talent lost for JJ. He's top 3. It's just for fantasy points. I think he's going to be the third best.
Yeah, and you hit on it with Addison is back. Addison finished with 10 touchdowns last year. That was 3rd in the league. That was 4th in the league for receivers, tied for 4th in his rookie year. But he may be suspended. We don't know yet. Just like we don't know about Rashee Rice either. They haven't told us yet. No,
doesn't make sense.
So, and the quarterback play, you're absolutely right. I'm a big systems guy. So yeah, Justin Jefferson in the top 3 makes a ton of sense. Wherever you put him, 3, 2, 1, wherever he, like we said, these 6 guys, we got the same guys. Who do you got at number 2?
Number 2, CeeDee Lamb. Pretty much everything we just talked about. He 130 receptions. I mean, there's nothing. I don't see him going down unless Dak falls apart or if Dak gets hurt. That's the only thing. If Dak from last year, he's going to have. I mean, he got better last year. CeeDee Lamb got way better. Now they got Zeke though, and they have a Dowdy running. I mean, that might make him pass more because the running game's not going to be as strong with Pollard gone. So, but CeeDee Lamb, if he's the same guy as last year, he's going to lead the league again.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, he can easily be the wide receiver 1 with his skill set in that situation. I have Tyreek Hill as my number 2, and Tyreek. The only thing that's holding me back on Tyreek is injuries. He's getting to that age where he could start getting some. And if he starts slowing down, that's a big part of his game. I mean, that's his game. But he's still a beast. Last year Tyreek, he had 13 touchdowns, 171 targets. I mean, 171 targets is crazy, bro. That's a lot of targets. Devontae Adams had 175. Tyreek 171 targets. Played 16 games, so he was out a game. And he had almost 1,800 yards. Like you mentioned that earlier. I mean, this guy's a beast. 376 fantasy points. So I don't know if he's going to duplicate or replicate those numbers, but he's going to be pretty damn close, and that'll get him in the top 3 for sure. All right, so my number 1, obviously then, if all these guys are gone, we flip-flop. I'm riding with JJ because I'm riding on just sheer talent and will alone. And I looked at what he did with those quarterbacks, that quarterback situation. In 10 games that he played last year, he still had 1,000 yards and he still had 7 touchdowns. And I just think that in Kevin O'Connell's system, a guy like Justin Jefferson, he had 68 receptions on 100 targets. He still had 100 targets, so he's going to have a good year in this system. And I think Sam Darnold's going to be a little better than everyone thinks. The Boston Celtics, when they were asked when they were on their run to the championship this last season, they asked Tatum, what's different this year? And Tatum gave an answer that I thought was one of the best answers I heard out of any sports guy in a long time. And it was pretty simple. He said, I just think we're all at in our careers. We've learned, and now's just the time. And I think that could be for Sam Darnold. He has an opportunity here. He's been given the keys to a Ferrari. This offense should, he's got all stars at all levels. Hawkinson, he's got Jefferson, Addison. He's got Aaron Jones, a crafty, really good, smart running back, and a good backup behind him with Ty Chandler. And, their line is improving. So I think Sam Darnold, man, could, I don't think it's going to be as bad as everyone thinks. Just like they were saying the Vikings defense is going to be the worst defense last year. That's all you heard. That's all you freaking heard. Vikings, their worst defense, worst. And I said, hey, no, Flores is going to make them better. And they were better than they were the year before. It didn't take much because Donatel was just a train wreck. He's an old senile grandpa. But so I think the same thing. I think with Sam Darnold, they're going to be okay, and I just believe in the system. Justin Jefferson is my number one.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I had him on number 3. Nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, but it just sucks that I think it does base off all on Darnold this year.
It does,
and
it does.
We'll see how that goes. Because he might check down to Addison all game. He might check down to Jones. So we'll have to see how it goes the first couple games. But Jefferson's my top. I mean, he's my 3. He could have easily been 1. But my number 1 is Tyreek. He was just too good last year. That whole offense goes around Tyreek. The whole offense. I mean, everything is based off what Tyreek does. Everything. They have, running plays for him. Seems like 75% of the passing plays is for Hill. They don't really have a great tight end. And I think that let's think if they had a better tight end. Let's say they had a top 10 tight end. Tyreek probably wouldn't get what he does. They have Waddle, but Waddle didn't do as great as we thought he would have last year. He still had a good season, but I think we had a lot more praise on Waddle. And he didn't really execute the way we thought he would. I just think Tyreek was too good last year. Almost 1,800 yards. He hit 17, but he almost had 18, and I don't see him dropping anytime soon.
Yeah. So anyway, there's our top 10 wide receivers. As you know, me and Jake really went through this list. We tried to get together the best list that we possibly can, and those are just our opinions. That's who we think is going to do the best in fantasy. But we do have 5 more guys that could have easily made this list. I'm gonna give you my 5 first, and then we'll let Jake close it out. And this is in no order, but with the emergence and what I know about this kid Caleb Williams, I think Caleb Williams is going to have a very good fantasy year this year as a quarterback from the Bears. So that to me jumps. DJ Moore is one of these. If you can get DJ Moore, draft DJ Moore. He could have easily fell into this list. I mean, I almost had him at, I think I had him at 7 and then flopped him and Garrett Wilson. I mean, it was that close. Is that kind of, that kind of talent, with these guys. For sure, Brandon Ayuk, fringe for my list, very fringe, but he easily could be a top 10 for all the reasons we already talked about. Chris Olave, the only thing about Chris Olave that makes me nervous is the quarterback and coaching situation, and just that offense in general seems like a train wreck. But the talent, he's definitely a top 10 talented wide receiver. Mike Evans should definitely be on that list. It was hard for me to keep Mike Evans out. I'm not the one to break, to bank on the streak breaking. I think he'll get 1,000 again. And then a wild card. There's a couple of wild cards I'll give you. Cooper Kupp. Depending on how his season goes, he can, if he turns back into Cooper Kupp, someone can get a steal later on in the draft. If they get Cooper Kupp, maybe in the 3rd round, he might be there in the 3rd round. The way these drafts can go, and where the funny thing is, people look at ADP so much when they're drafting some of these, leagues we're in. I don't pay too much attention to it. I go by my own research and just what I want to fill out on my team. And the other one, though, man, Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie, could finish as a top 10 wide receiver. He really could. He's not in my top 10 list, but he is an honorable mention. He's that good, and he really could finish in the top 10. So those are mine. And Malik Neighbors, I'd have to throw his name out there too if I'm going to throw Harrison Jr., but his quarterback situation, I think Harrison's is better than Neighbors because, we both had Kyler in our top 10 as a quarterback. So those are my honorable mentions. Who do you got? Honorable
So
mentions?
mine is Devontae Adams. He could have easily been in 10. He was in your 10. Garrett Wilson was in my 10. It was like pretty much Adams and Wilson were both in my 10, but it was pretty much out of Evans and Ayuk. I just found that Evans just had a better year last year and not to keep him at a 10 wasn't good enough for me. DJ Moore, I agree with you about DJ Moore with Caleb. He could have easily been top 10, but it's just still, it's still, we have to see how the kid does, but I think he's going to be a good quarterback this year. Cooper Kupp, same thing. Can't take Cooper Kupp out. Just had to keep him out right now, just with his injuries. And then I was thinking about Marvin Harris Jr., and I really was, but I had somebody else in there, and I couldn't take him out of my top or my bottom 5, and that's Michael Pittman Jr. With Anthony Richardson healthy this year, and we said what he did with Minshew over 1,100 yards. Michael Pittman Jr. is my notable mention. I just think that he could be. I mean, he could be top 10 with yards and everything. To be honest, with Richardson. And I got 2 fades real quick, so we can move on. I have fade Hollywood Brown and a fade Chris Godwin. It just seems like Godwin's not getting back. I mean, he had 1,000 yards last year, but with Baker, I could only trust Baker with one receiver, and that's Evans. And the same with Marquise Brown. That guy's hurt every year, and I wouldn't draft him. I probably wouldn't even draft him at all. Like, I would not draft Marquise Brown. He'll be the one you get off free agency in case he goes off.
Yeah, well, Marquise Brown, the reason I would fade him is because he just can't, like you said, he can't stay on the field. He just can't stay.
No.
He would have been great with Mahomes, I think, but he's not.
There was
he already isn't.
Exactly. When he went there, it was like, oh, okay.
He already isn't. Yeah.
He's already hurt.
So, yeah,
Yep,
I agree. But there is one guy I did not mention, and I do think he could be a top 10 or on my 15, is Puka Nacua. I mean, I don't know how I forgot to, I just forgot to mention him. But yeah, Puka Nacua easily, man, could be top 10 or if he doesn't have that sophomore jinx and for all the things we talked about, LA and all that. But yeah, so there you have our top 10 wide receivers list and some honorable mentions, some fades. For me, a fade would be, I'm fading DK Metcalf, and DK could be he could be a top 10, but he just has never lived up to that. And it could be quarterback situation or whatever. But last year he had a steady quarterback. Geno played admirably and played well, and he still wasn't lighting it up like we think and it could be schemed. They have a new whole coaching staff. So maybe, but I'll just stay away from him. There's our top 10 wide receivers. I'm Lonnie. He is Jake. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.